In a bustling downtown convenience store, Jason, a 35-year-old construction worker, walked in wearing his bright red "Make America Great Again" hat. His day had been long, and all he wanted was a cold soda. The store clerk, a young man named Dylan, spotted him immediately. Dylan smirked and loudly said, "We don't serve racists here." Jason froze. The store fell silent. Other shoppers stared, some whispering, some glaring. Jason felt his face heat up. "Excuse me?" he asked, trying to stay calm. Dylan leaned on the counter, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You heard me. That hat is offensive. People like you ruin this country." Jason clenched his fists but said nothing. He placed the soda on the counter. Dylan shoved it aside. "Not selling to you," he snapped. Jason turned to leave, but Dylan wasn't done. "Hey, everyone, look at Mr. MAGA over here. Big tough guy, huh?" Jason's hands trembled as he walked out. Outside, he leaned against his truck, feeling humiliated and small. He didn't notice the sleek black Tesla pulling into the parking lot or the man stepping out, adjusting his collar. Elon Musk had just arrived. Jason didn't go far. He sat in his truck, staring at the store. The humiliation stung, but worse was the feeling of being powerless. He wanted to storm back in and defend himself, but what good would it do? He sighed, feeling the weight of the day press harder on his chest. Inside the store, Dylan kept laughing, making snide remarks to the other customers. "Can you believe that guy?" he said loudly. "Walking in here with that hat like he owns the place. Disgusting." Elon Musk quietly walked to the back of the store, unnoticed. He picked up a bottle of water and stood in line, his piercing gaze fixed on Dylan. Elon had seen the encounter from outside and was deeply disturbed. He said nothing yet, only observing. As Jason sat in his truck, a woman knocked on his window. She was an elderly lady with kind eyes. "Don't let people like him get to you," she said softly. Jason nodded, but he still felt the sting. Elon's turn came at the counter. Dylan greeted him with a fake smile, unaware of who he was. "What's up, man? Long day?" Elon didn't answer, but his silence spoke volumes. Jason decided to return to the store, not for the soda but to reclaim his dignity. As he walked in, the whispers started again. Dylan noticed him and snickered. "Back so soon? Didn't get enough before?" Before Jason could speak, a soft voice came from behind him. "Excuse me." Jason turned to see the same elderly woman from the parking lot. She was clutching a loaf of bread and staring at Dylan. "Is this how you treat people?" Dylan's smile faltered. "Mind your business, lady," he said, brushing her off. But the woman didn't back down. "I've seen you humiliate 2 people today," she said. "What's your problem?" Dylan rolled his eyes. "Okay, Grandma, maybe stick to knitting or something." The store erupted in gasps. Jason felt anger rise but stayed still. Elon, still quiet, watched the exchange carefully. He glanced at Jason, their eyes meeting briefly. Jason didn't recognize him, but something about Elon's calm demeanor was reassuring. Outside, 2 men approached Jason's truck. They were rough-looking, pointing at his hat and laughing. "MAGA loser," one said loudly. Jason felt trapped, insulted inside the store and outside. As Jason endured the taunts, a customer inside snapped a photo of him standing with the elderly woman. The image, along with Dylan's insults, quickly made its way to Twitter with the caption, "MAGA guy and granny get wrecked in convenience store." Within minutes, the photo went viral. Hundreds of people chimed in, mocking Jason and the woman. Some tweets called them bigots. Others praised Dylan as a hero. Jason's phone buzzed repeatedly, but he ignored it. He didn't want to know. Meanwhile, Elon casually pulled out his phone and scrolled through his notifications. He saw the photo and the hateful comments. A flicker of anger crossed his face. He began typing. Dylan, oblivious to the storm brewing, leaned over the counter, smirking. "What's wrong, MAGA man? Cat got your tongue?" Jason tried to keep calm, but every word from Dylan felt like a punch to the gut. Elon hit tweet. His message was simple. Bullying is never okay. Watch yourselves. He didn't include names, but his 200 million followers immediately knew something big was happening. Within seconds, the tide began to turn. People started asking, who is Elon talking about? Jason's nightmare was about to take an unexpected twist. Dylan finally noticed Elon standing by the counter. You need something, dude? You've been standing there forever. Elon gave a small smile and said, actually, I do. His voice was calm but carried authority. Jason and the elderly woman watched curiously as Elon stepped forward. I need to know why you think it's okay to treat people like this, Elon said, his tone sharp. Dylan blinked, confused. What are you talking about? Elon pointed to Jason and the woman. You've humiliated them, insulted them, and encouraged others to do the same. Why? Dylan scoffed. What's it to you? Are you one of them? Elon's smile faded. Let's just say I don't like bullies. Jason, still unsure who Elon was, watched the scene unfold. Dylan shrugged. Whatever, man. It's my store. I can do what I want. Elon leaned closer. Actually, it's not your store, and I think it's time we have a serious conversation about accountability. Dylan laughed nervously, but his confidence began to waver. Jason exchanged a glance with the woman. Who was this man? Elon's phone buzzed. The photo had reached the media. Jason's ordeal wasn't over. It was only beginning. Elon's tweet exploded across the internet. News outlets picked up the story, speculating about the mystery clerk and the bully shopper. Dylan's face was suddenly everywhere, and the reactions weren't kind. Inside the store, Dylan's phone buzzed nonstop. He glanced at it and froze. What the? His hands shook as he scrolled through the comments. Fire this guy. Shameful. Elon's watching you, buddy. Jason noticed Dylan's sudden change in demeanor. Something wrong? He asked, his voice steady for the first time. Dylan glared at him but said nothing. Elon stepped outside, making a quick call. When he returned, he walked behind the counter and faced Dylan. I just spoke with the owner of the store, Elon said calmly. He's agreed to let me handle this situation. Dylan's face turned pale. Wait, what? He stammered. Elon didn't respond. Instead, he motioned for Jason to step forward. I'd like to buy you that soda, Elon said. Jason hesitated, unsure what was happening. Thanks. Dylan's humiliation had just begun. Jason's, however, was far from over. By the time Jason left the store, the parking lot was packed with reporters and angry protesters. Word had spread about the confrontation, and people came to take sides. Some cheered Dylan, calling him brave for standing up to Jason. Others demanded he be fired. Jason tried to avoid the cameras, but it was impossible. A reporter shoved a microphone in his face. How does it feel to be humiliated for your beliefs? She asked. Jason said nothing, hurrying to his truck. The elderly woman followed, trying to shield him. Leave him alone, she shouted, but no one listened. Inside the store, Dylan was panicking. He called his boss repeatedly, but there was no answer. Elon stood silently behind the counter, watching him squirm. You reap what you sow, Elon said softly. Dylan snapped, What's your deal, man? Why are you even here? Elon smiled faintly. Sometimes people need to be reminded of what decency looks like. Jason's phone buzzed again. This time it was his wife. Jason, what's happening? The kids saw your picture online. They're scared. Jason's heart sank. The storm outside was nothing compared to what awaited him at home. Jason's story spread like wildfire. Social media was ablaze with arguments, hashtags, and memes. Some defended him, saying no one should be treated that way, while others ridiculed him, using his hat as a symbol of everything they hated. Jason tried to stay off his phone, but curiosity got the better of him. He opened Twitter and immediately regretted it. The insults were endless. Crybaby MAGA man can't handle the truth. If you wear that hat, you deserve it. His kids, meanwhile, had been dragged into the chaos. Classmates sent them cruel messages mocking their dad. Jason's wife tried to shield them, but the damage was done. Elon, still in the store, watched the chaos unfold online. He didn't regret stepping in, but he knew the situation had spiraled out of control. He made another call, this time to his PR team. We need to control this narrative, he said. People are missing the point. Dylan, meanwhile, was bombarded with hate messages. His smugness vanished, replaced by fear. This is your fault, he yelled at Jason when he returned to the store. Jason didn't respond. He had no words left. Jason drove home in silence, the weight of the day pressing on him. His wife, Sarah, greeted him at the door, worry etched across her face. What happened? She asked softly. Jason shook his head, unable to explain. His kids peeked around the corner, their eyes wide with fear. Daddy, are you in trouble? His youngest daughter asked. Jason knelt and hugged them. No, sweetie. Everything's going to be okay, he lied. Meanwhile, Elon's PR team released a statement online. It didn't name Jason or Dylan but condemned bullying and urged people to treat each other with respect. The message calmed some of the chaos, but the damage was done. At the store, Dylan locked the doors early, afraid of the growing crowd outside. Protesters on both sides shouted and waved signs. Justice for MAGA, some yelled. Down with hate, shouted others. Inside his home, Jason sat in the dark, staring at his hat. It had once been a symbol of hope for him, but now it felt like a target. He didn't know what the morning would bring, but he knew one thing. His life would never be the same. The next day, Jason's boss called him into the office. We're getting complaints, his boss said bluntly. People are saying they don't want to work with you anymore. Jason felt a lump in his throat. But I didn't do anything wrong, he said. His boss sighed. I know, but this is bad for business. Just lay low for a while. Okay? Jason left feeling crushed. On the drive home, he passed the convenience store. The crowd outside had grown, and police were now on the scene. Reporters swarmed, hoping for a new angle. Elon was still inside, meeting with the store owner. This has gone too far, Elon said. We need to fix this. Jason parked a block away, watching from a distance. He felt torn. Part of him wanted to confront Dylan, to demand an apology, but another part of him wanted to disappear, to leave the hat and the chaos behind. As he sat in his truck, a man knocked on his window. It was Elon. Mind if I sit? He asked. Jason stared at him, unsure what to say. Who are you? He finally asked. Elon smiled. Someone who hates seeing good people suffer. Jason stared at Elon in disbelief. Why are you here? He asked, his voice shaky. Elon smiled warmly. I saw what happened. It's not right. I came to help. Jason felt a mix of relief and confusion. You don't even know me, Jason said. That doesn't matter, Elon replied. No one deserves to be treated like that. Inside the store, Dylan was pacing nervously. The crowd outside was growing, and he could hear chants of, Fire Dylan, and Support Jason, through the glass doors. Elon noticed Jason's hesitation. I understand if you don't trust me, he said, but I'm here for a reason. Let's fix this. Jason hesitated but nodded. Together, they walked toward the store. As they approached, the crowd parted, and the cameras turned toward them. Reporters shouted questions, but Elon ignored them. Dylan saw them coming and froze, his face turning pale. Elon opened the door. We need to talk, Elon said, his tone firm but calm. Jason stood silently beside him, unsure of what would happen next. Elon stepped behind the counter, looking directly at Dylan. You know why I'm here, he said calmly. Dylan stammered. I don't know what you're talking about. Elon raised an eyebrow. Don't play dumb. You humiliated him for no reason. Why? Dylan's confidence crumbled. It was just a joke, he muttered. Jason, still standing near the door, spoke up. That wasn't a joke. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. His voice trembled, but his anger was clear. The crowd outside watched through the windows, their eyes glued to the confrontation. Reporters leaned closer, recording every word. Elon took a deep breath. What you did wasn't just mean, it was dangerous. You turned him into a target. Dylan avoided Elon's piercing gaze, fidgeting with his apron. Jason felt a mix of anger and vindication. For the first time, someone was standing up for him. Elon turned to Jason. What do you want to say to him? Jason hesitated. He had a lot to say, but the words wouldn't come. Finally, he managed, "I just want an apology." Dylan mumbled, "I'm sorry," but the apology felt hollow. Jason shook his head. "That's not enough." As the tension inside the store grew, the crowd outside became restless. Protesters shouted slogans, some defending Jason, others backing Dylan. Police officers tried to keep the peace, but the atmosphere was tense. Inside, Elon remained calm. "Dylan, your apology doesn't sound sincere," he said. "Do you even understand why what you did was wrong?" Dylan crossed his arms, his face flushed. "Look, I just don't like that hat. Okay? It stands for everything I'm against." Elon frowned. "And that gives you the right to humiliate someone? To encourage others to bully him?" Jason watched silently, his emotions a whirlwind. He wanted justice, but he also wanted to move on. Suddenly, a loud bang startled everyone. Someone had thrown a rock through the store window. Glass shattered, and the crowd outside erupted into chaos. Elon stepped forward, raising his hands. "Calm down," he shouted. His voice carried authority, and the crowd began to quiet. Jason felt his heart racing. The situation was spiraling out of control, and he didn't know how much more he could take. Elon turned to him. "We need to fix this. Together," he said. Jason nodded, though he wasn't sure how. News vans lined the street as reporters swarmed the store. The story had gone national, and everyone wanted the latest scoop. Jason's face was plastered on TV screens and social media, making him feel exposed and vulnerable. Inside, Elon was on the phone with his team. "We need to control the narrative," he said. "This isn't just about a hat. It's about basic human decency." Dylan sat in the corner, looking defeated. His phone buzzed constantly with hateful messages. He glanced at Jason and mumbled, "I didn't mean for it to go this far." Jason didn't respond. He felt a mix of anger and pity for Dylan. Elon hung up the phone and addressed the room. "Here's what we're going to do," he said. "Dylan, you're going to make a real apology. Publicly. Jason, if you're willing, I'd like you to share your side of the story. The world needs to hear it." Jason hesitated. The thought of speaking in front of cameras terrified him, but Elon's words struck a chord. Maybe his story could make a difference. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll do it." The next day, Elon organized a press conference outside the store. A podium was set up, and reporters crowded around with their microphones ready. Jason stood nervously behind the podium, his MAGA hat in his hand. Elon spoke first. "What happened here was unacceptable," he began. "But today we're here to make things right." He motioned for Dylan to step forward. The clerk hesitated but obeyed. He looked out at the crowd, his face pale. "I want to apologize," Dylan said, his voice shaky. "What I did was wrong. I judged someone without knowing them, and I'm sorry." The apology felt more sincere this time, but Jason wasn't sure if he could forgive him. Elon then turned to Jason. "Would you like to say something?" Jason's hands trembled as he stepped up to the microphone. He took a deep breath. "I didn't ask for any of this," he began. "I just wanted to buy a soda. But what happened showed me how divided we've become." He paused, his voice breaking. "I don't want hate. I just want respect for everyone." The crowd fell silent, and for the first time in days, Jason felt a sense of peace. After the press conference, the atmosphere began to shift. The crowd outside dispersed, and the media frenzy died down. Jason felt a weight lift off his shoulders, though he knew things wouldn't return to normal overnight. Elon stayed by his side, offering support. "You handled that well," he said. Jason managed a small smile. "Thanks. I couldn't have done it without you." Inside the store, Dylan cleaned up the shattered glass, his demeanor subdued. He glanced at Jason and muttered, "I really am sorry." Jason nodded. "I hope you've learned something from this." Dylan didn't respond, but his silence spoke volumes. Elon made one final call before leaving. "I'm setting up a fund to promote kindness and respect," he told his assistant. "Call it the Jason Initiative." Jason was stunned. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I know," Elon replied, "but I want to. This is bigger than you or me." Jason watched as Elon drove away in his Tesla, feeling a mix of gratitude and disbelief. In the days that followed, Jason's story continued to make headlines, but this time, the narrative was different. People focused on the lessons learned, and the hate began to fade. Jason returned to work, where his coworkers greeted him with warmth and support. "We've got your back," one of them said. At home, his kids hugged him tightly. "We're proud of you, Dad," his daughter said. Jason felt a swell of emotion. Dylan, meanwhile, faced consequences for his actions. The store owner suspended him, and he took time to reflect on his behavior. He sent Jason a handwritten letter apologizing again. Jason wasn't sure if he could fully forgive Dylan, but he appreciated the gesture. Jason decided to use his experience to help others. He began speaking at community events, sharing his story and encouraging people to treat each other with kindness. The Jason initiative gained traction, with donations pouring in from around the country. Jason was invited to meet with community leaders and even appeared on talk shows to discuss the importance of empathy. Though the experience had been painful, it gave Jason a new purpose. He realized that even in the face of adversity, there was always a chance to make things better. And for the first time in weeks, Jason felt hope.